Hi, I'm Beth Ruscio. Welcome to my Poetry Playhouse. We had a big reading here yesterday, an overwhelming response, a robust audience, and in all the excitement, we missed a cue. So we're retaping this beginning today, which will seamlessly be edited into the entire recording by Jerry Garcia. Thank you, Jerry. And you'll be able to tell I'm wearing a different outfit, but my hair is the same. Uh, This is a book launch for my book, Speaking Parts, winner of the Brick Road Poetry Prize. And at the very top, let me thank Brick Road Poetry Press and my publisher and editor, the gracious Keith Badowski, whose counsel, patience, and expertise were invaluable in bringing this book into print. Thank you, Keith. And let me also honor my late parents, the actors, Al Ruscio and Kate Williamson, who taught me to love the spoken word and to whom this book is dedicated. I love you, Mom and Dad. There's a 2-page spread in the back of the book, what Mariano Zaro calls my pages of gratitude, in which I thank the many, many people who have encouraged and taught me. But I will single out the two who are part of this launch. Jerry Garcia, almost my very first poet friend, back when I was a baby poet. I hadn't planned on doing any readings in this year, 2020, but Jerry made me an offer I could not refuse. So thank you, Jerry. And thank you, Laurel Ann Bogan. I walked into your poetry class at the Writers Program, UCLA Extension, and my life changed. Last but never least, my husband and my partner, the talented playwright and teacher, the love of my life, Leanne Martell. I heard Susan Rogers, the sound engineer for Prince, around the time he was recording Sign of the Times, describe something that comes very close to what we poets strive for. Here's what she said. Prince had a watchmaker's knack for understanding how music works and how to get it to work with the fewest possible parts. Gosh, that's exactly what we try to do as poets. I like that. So, without further ado, as Jackie Gleason would say, and away we go. This first poem I'm going to read, I'm going to use the epigraph that opens the book. It's from Dorothea Lange from this great documentary called Grab a Hunk of Lightning, which is a great title. And I'm going to use it to introduce this poem. The poem is called Beside Myself With. And here's the epigraph. The work is the process of getting lost. Sometimes you annihilate yourself. This is for Ari. Beside myself with. I killed off 2, maybe 3 of myselves, stuffed them in the broom closet. Why not the crawl space, I wonder? Closets are the first places they look. What it felt like to kill, I don't remember, except in the bathroom with the cracked skylight, in the roaches when I turned on the lamp to pee, the ants on the 1 cup I didn't rinse before bed. Only merely, slightly, against live and let live, slightly Buddhist fraud. On the lamb, I'm invisible in mirrored Ray-Bans when the noir version, or even the camera, wields a scalpel, framed for something you didn't do. Lights up my smartphone like a conscience, see? Run into the actress playing me, try to avoid her, end up complimenting her extravagantly. She's so self-possessed. She knows about murders. Her unruffled hippie chic and underneath the floaty ruse, harsh as shit kicker boots. She's so much better at this scene. More than one of me thinks, honey, you can have the part. hole up in Manhattan, try to blend in. Which who lives in this cold water flat? Up a steep and very sordid staircase, interior decorated in paisley squalor. Didn't Dee Dee turn me on to this hideout? I play shell-shocked, as happens in times like these, when words don't. Spit it out. Work. Plus, I've never been good with faces. When I was who, what did I didn't do? I must belong here. Don't I keep coming back? I do. I do. Fuck. I do. Eventually, one feels assaulted by disguise. This next poem I'm going to read is called Towards an Uneasy Love for Ophelia, and I'm going to quote something that one of my muses said, um, Eleonora Duse. She said, "The first impression I create is one of ugliness." Um, I read something about her that she was sort of duende haunted, and I read that one of her missions was to find a failed theatrical property and redeem it. And that's how I approach the subject of this next poem. Toward an Uneasy Love for Ophelia. Oh, you scattered, fragmented wisp, you shattered flower pot shard, you torch singer with no sense of pitch. How much I have learned at your expense, from plight to plight. Your, "Why, my lord," and "I think nothing, my lord." That load you choke down, that we are born to be mastered, you pod over unlucky charm. Yet, what would I give for a sure and certain place in the chain of being? How easy for pigeons to curtsy, how safe, fixed at the feet of oaks among vines, beneath a seraphim canopy, to coast above the work-song clack of shellfish and the livelong undertow. And how much I ache for a faith like yours, its wobbly legs, its puppiness. How soft to give everything over, every muscle, every ghost to the collapsing fugue to sleep. Because anyway, we are all of us weak, crying, "Uncle." Life is weakness, and in every ending we all lose the will, and the victory is without stones in your pockets, and the river is your answer. Oh, Ophelia, you deliver me from believing in ceilings, from the sway of swinging from some chandelier and hearing what you would say come out of my mouth. Who could deny me my moment of frailty? Talk me down from what ledge? Keep me from keening about my own stage? To be a joke in the making, for want of what would I press on? But Ophelia, you disaster. You take my breath away, from the stinging nettles in your hair to the reeds in your teeth, as you breach the last lock so placidly, you darling damned. This next poem I'm going to read um, is among the three poems that opens the book. It's sort of those three poems that open the book. And hey, Here's the book. This is my book, and it feels really nice too. It has this real soft, like suede sort of feel, and this great, beautiful rose dress. This is an oil painting from 1907 by Thomas Anschutz. It's called A Rose, and I just love the look on her face. I mean, when you're painting an oil painting, you have to decide to keep a face like that. And here, he's given her a rose to look at, and she's like, "Put it now. I'm not going to hold that rose." So I just love this. There's my book. Anyway, back to what I'm going to say about this poem. My late father, Al Ruscio, veteran character actor whose career spanned virtually the entire history of television. He played a lot of bad guys, and he was always getting killed. And lo and behold, so have I. I've got like a little container with Polaroids of me, continuity Polaroids of me dead with different degrees of blood on my face or chest or wherever. Anyway, I was dead for 2 days, which was the inspiration for this next poem. And believe me, when you're in dead makeup, it's very hard to find a dining partner at the commissary. Okay, correcting for death. I play this character, Dead Judith, on the call sheet with a paint gun, a makeup specialist in effects, sprays a dead person's face on my face. Steady, with brushes made of a single eyelash, hand-mixed color concoctions are applied, correcting for death. Stria, for coagulation under the skin. The mottled freckling of an overripe peach, for blood splash. A sculpted bullet hole in my temple. An exit wound weeping syrup out my cheek. Grips remove the rear view mirror from the 3/4 ton pickup where I am slaughtered. Not for my sake, for the camera angle. I'm in an onion field. Gore drips off the shattered passenger side window. Brains puddle on the Naugahyde seat. Lunch isn't for hours. We'll be on this shot forever. Yeah, that's from a movie I did called Letters from a Killer. And they had to make a prosthetic hand, left arm of mine, so that they could chop off my ring finger. That was a signature of the killers. More information than you probably want to know, but in case you ever see it, it might show up on the Late Late Show. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. This is I once read this poem with Susan Krebs Jazz Quartet backing me. So this is for Susan, and imagine that if you can. It's called Standard Time. There's no saving daylight. When the sun's too much candy, be glad fall swallows the days of cherries. How much Technicolor can we take? We can't. Take a load off dahlias. Relief. A flatter intonation. A shorter day, a tonal palette. Black, gray, white, brown. A year's implacable yardstick is in 4/4 time. To everything a turn, a 12-bar melody, blooming into call and response, the soft caress of Chet Baker's Moonlit. What is this thing? Hooks up with the percussion of clinking ice called love. Inevitable. A blemished plum will rust. so too a summer crush. At the season's last happy hour, the night sky neat, pupils dilated, fervent for its marquee moment, the long solo. Yes, raise a glass adieu to sunburnt days of lemon fraise, the flushed headiness at the roller coaster's crest, and the sun too close for Icarus and all the rest. Swinging backbeat, enough booze and Chinese food to get us up and running. Rejoice. It's standard time now for real. I'm going to toast to standard time. This poem opens the second section of the book, which is called Repertoire. The poem is called Westering, and it's inspired by a phrase of Joan Didion's in her book Where I Was From, which is kind of a bookend to Slouching Towards Bethlehem. Basically, she's looking from New York at California, and of course, in Slouching Towards Bethlehem, she's leaving California and going to New York. The very decision to set forth on the journey had been a kind of death involving the total abandonment of all previous life. Yeah, sorry. A lot of poetry has death hanging over it like a, well, at this time of year, like a Christmas tree ornament. Westering. Dear soul, smudged collar of propriety, darkened silver inheritance. I walk over fresh graves to join the headstrong winds, pushing past remnants of other outposts. Call it progress, or one last claim hauled up blind from a rosewood chest. Dear departed East, stranglehold of bone on bone china, socked in frosted windows and stunted limbs on old growth trees. If death is a short cold, then heaven at my back will be closer. And once this westering sets up in me, like a Conestoga, I yearn so, surge by surge, for the wide satin vastness. Dear knee, bent on the trail of folly, which will not end with me. This next poem, which has got a long title, Pacific Grove, California, Ladies Sketch Club on the Beach, 1890. I'm reading for my husband, Leon. I think of this poem as it's a secret poet code, an Ars Poetica. This poem comes as close as any I've ever written to something like that. It's in the form of a letter to a sister, crossed in the mail. Essentially, a meditation on being an artist, a poet. And I'm just going to roll through these next few poems, starting with this one, so you can just settle in and let these words roll over you. They're sort of my more melodic poems. Pacific Grove, California, Ladies Sketch Club on the Beach, 1890. To order light, dear sister. To wield a vest pocket clock and boss around the day is not considered women's work. Yet truly I live on scrapes of Prussian blue and gamboge crimson, go through tubes and tubes of bright lead white, the cruelest white, for foam and spray and ocean, pinned down with my palette knife. I'm under a raucous spell of light, and the sea swelling in me, the dried colors caked under my fingernails, all the proof I need. Let my smocks, neglected, yellow and gray, I don't care. Only let me wait out for the golden hour. See how it polishes even a crude thing like my sweat to a flushed glamour. It's not order, cleanliness, not our Father's God I serve. Behold my sin, like beach tar, whiskered blackly in sand and burnt umber. Taken to the soil. In late September, let me just say, this is for Paul. In late September, the ground he picked out warm yet, the boy laid down. His human days over, he had taken quite devoutly to the soil. Fall was heavy, drifts of rust ballast for the voyage. He felt the knot in his stomach unspool, become taproot. His spine douse for loam. He let his lungs fill with spores, dust, the cast-off wings of insects. He matched his breath to the suck of the wind as glint ebbed to thrum. Then hush, he let the earth hear him out. Each day before school, his sister fills a bottle from the tap, carries it to him by the neck. Evenings, she scatters coffee grounds flecked with gleaming eggshells, and quietly she stretches out next to him, their faces close as crossing lights. Here comes some joy. Reclamation. A lot of people requested this poem. Reclamation. My arms full of washed out peanut butter jars and other pampered recyclables. I'm mistaken for a mother by the trash man, although I may also be mistaken, for he is immaculate, appearing on the running board of a steamy blue truck on a Friday. Happy Mother's Day, he proclaims buoyantly, his voice raspy from talking over the grind of gears, dirty job, hauling everyday empties away. And in return, he's joy, a kind of minister, unsullied. I don't correct him, handing over my cans and jars. I scrub them till they gleam like it's the first day of school. And this one that I'm going to read is, I think, the most requested poem. There's one other that's more requested, maybe. All beings have been your mother, which is a Buddhist teaching. Winston scented and coffee breathed, bags under her eyes, fatigued beyond the reach of Excedrin, 4 children in 5 years. This was my mother. An old 7. I got stomach aches over how she'd ever manage. I washed dishes. I made my bed. Out of clay, I put together miniature inedible meals, peas and carrots, drumsticks, but I didn't know sewing. I had to have a choir robe to be in 2nd grade chorus, white, like angels' clothes, long, to my ankles. Without a white angel robe with a bow at the neck, I'd flunk choir. The next day, in front of the blackboard, a rack of official choir robes, exiled to a hook on the back wall of the classroom, Mom's version, fashioned from Dad's old shirt, which looked like a homemade ghost. I'd gotten the facts wrong. She'd stayed up all night. Made her sick all the next day. It killed her 50 years later. What did I know? In high school, my debate partner, Doug, was my mother. On the sly, he taught me how to drive his dad's car. Caught heck when I almost rolled it, took the blame. Made me believe I could someday be a good driver. On filthy streets, cracked with cold, a lady lived on cardboard, retrieved broken lipsticks from trash cans, stabbed color on her cheeks. Hadn't she been my mother? Singing that lullaby when I pressed dollar bills into her hand. Sleigh bells ringing in the snow. From one of my lovers, I caught the infection that locked off my womb. From some other girl, he'd caught it, and she from some other guy. All those lovers were my mother's. In other lifetimes, I was theirs. This scout ant crossing my yellow kitchen counter, a search party of one, looks for sustenance. I was of her tribe. She made an angel robe for me once. Because he is in the house and because I adore him, I want to read this surprise poem. It's for John O'Keefe. I wrote it for John O'Keefe, and his name is actually in the book as a dedication. This is essentially about a play of his called Berselec's Dream, which was done at the Padre Hills Playwrights Festival in its original location on a red dirt field outdoors. And it's a kind of open field incantation of a play, beckoning the day to end, the sun to set, and the moon to rise. And here goes, Summer Calling for John O'Keefe. One season we played nuns, enough to get the feel. Novice actresses yoked to made-up vows. We bore the marks of wool for weeks, our skin mercerized in the sunny rehearsal heat. Black gabardine, white challis, black head kerchiefs, the rubbed raw badges, the costumes chafed onto our thighs, our wimple-rashed cheeks. Tested, the long pent-up day of pretend vocation, no lesser devotion. We were cut loose in a red clay field, the cooling sacrament, dusk, told to write loud on a clean red slate. We formed a kick line, a can in reverse, receding as we curtsied, singing close, a choir of showgirls charming the fat moon to rise. We of the cloth, gone the way of soft rags, of unanswered rosaries, attended a July reunion, and up we popped in unison, as sisters do, forgetting time, as if strings never untied from habits. First we lifted our pretend skirts, our arms akimbo just so, and then without a sideways glance, set about our magic-seeming backwards trot, away from our attachments and the trapping world. Falling, failing like that. falling, failing, like that push off the high board, shove off the landing, down the elevator shaft, that same jolt when a foot doesn't account for a sudden valley, the sinking feeling in the stomach's pit just beyond the roller coaster's crest, descent into the shifty stretch of quicksand, gleaming slick of La Brea tar, blackout as in shooting to death's door, the grammar of danger in the color of ice, frozen clear, frozen cloudy, frozen milky, green, frozen blue, as in breaking through and slipping under, as in swimming farther out than heart can carry you back, as in curtains, done for, the thrash of ending, the look in your eyes the last time I saw your eyes, this widening absence of upsway, sinking, falling, failing all along. What was that look? Last look entrusted to me like a secret. Is that this pull, this dire force, as if dragging you, your hands gripping me like a door jamb, as if a stronger me could wrench you back? So today is the 7th anniversary of my mother's death. She has the largest speaking part in Speaking Parts. You've already heard a little about her. This is a collision of two events: the retirement of the spaceship Endeavour and Mom's long slide out of this world. I've never read this poem in public, and this is your two poem, just as your two poem warning. So this poem and the next poem. End over end endeavor. It was dumb luck. I did not move a muscle to stand with throngs waiting for it to streak over Griffith Park Observatory. I did not tool down to Santa Monica Beach when KNBC threw it to Colleen Williams. She's just leaving Venice Pier, flying inland due east, low and salutary. I was taking 3 steps out onto an empty Culver Street. Boom! I alone looked up to see you, Endeavor, you death-defying sky queen, piggyback on a 747. Fly over, dip, and bank away, paying out a sonic wave of shadow between us. Dear Mom, imagine both you and Endeavor in low houses now, hangared, through with rising. Again and again, it was dumb pain, and you wanting only to leave. Take me, please, away from here. And Endeavor could only streak, bye-bye. And I could only walk you to the gate. I did not get your high cheekbones from some Cherokee blood way back, or feel 4 souls come through me, or ever feel is inconsolable. Lament nothing is how you lived, because nothing is ever really lost, but fearful of so much, not just oblivion, the water, food, left turns. It terrifies me how alive I feel, Mom, to live on alone, to look up and not see you with your head bent toward a book, keeping your place with chubby fingers, the same fatties which type this note. A failure of imagination has cast us in different worlds. I could fail you more by lamenting. It is not such a leap to believe you too can defeat gravity, Mom. Catch the mighty updraft, come out on high, a queen, and breaking with mere atmosphere in death, defy the percentages. You, an endeavor, the hurtling acrobats cross a Pacific sky, become salutary shadows, going wide and far from me. And this is the last poem. Uh, Lots of people love this poem. This was requested by many people. I'm going to dedicate the reading of this poem to Carl and Lori because they were there when the whole idea for this poem was hatched. This is really for anybody who has lost something or someone they loved. Of matchbooks, phone booths, and the loss of Nicodels. I got to take a drink for this one. Just ginger ale. In those days when somebody famous yanked open the bar's side door off Melrose, spilling a rectangle of sunny rebuke on us unknowns ripening in Nicodel's night for day ambience, we looked up without looking up, slitting our eyes to the light. We were dark-clothed theater rats, rehearsing all hours in our black box empty spaces, on our wageless farce, our German expressionism, all our daylight eaten, not from around here pale, funhouse sweaty with thirst to burn, but seated in a place like Nicodel's in old Hollywood, on the slightly seedy side, down from local television station KCAL, and spooned by the back lot of Paramount Studios in the hierarchy of regulars. We had rank. We wanted for nothing. Nicodels, with a name like Loose Change, where dream makers on martini lunches and newscasters from the desert to the sea to all of Southern California, like Jerry Dunphy, could tuck into one of the bar's red leather booths and dine in the cocktail atmosphere, where good old nobodies could have a completely appointed experience, exchanging numbers inside midnight blue matchbooks that boasted of air conditioning, a smoky topaz back mirrored bar, Caesar salads, tossed tableside, shoestring potatoes, salty hot, dark wood, dark corners, 15 different bourbons. Back when drinking in the daytime was the mark of a vivid, lush life, when you could pick up matchbooks by the handful next to the cigarette machine on the way to the phone booth, acting like you had somebody who loved you, dying for a call,